Good evening and welcome to Gator's Garage, the home of all things historical and science fiction gaming in and around the great city of Savannah, Georgia. I'm your host, Mike Baker, and we're here with our good friend Randy, and this is this week's edition of the Mike and Randy Show. Randy's coming back and recovering from his adventures at Recon in Florida, which I guess was about 2 weeks ago now, Randy. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to review his army list and talk about how it did or did not perform and kind of how it seemed to stack up against other lists. Last week, of course, if you haven't seen the video from last week, we talked to Patrick Ballinger, who was the tournament organizer, and we reviewed the different types of armies that showed up, some of the different scenarios that he ran, and just kind of his general impressions on that. So now we get to kind of get the view from a player, if you will. Before we get too deep into this thing, just a reminder: do all the YouTube things for us. Like, subscribe, share, leave comments. Remember, keep them family friendly. If there's something you'd like to see us cover, just ask in the show notes below, and we'll get to it just as soon as we can. So, Randy, without further ado, let's take a look at that awesome army you took to Recon down in Florida. Hey, and this was a nice change from Huracan. No wind, no rain, no hurricane.
No hurricane. All recon.
Yeah, yeah. Here we go. So I guess before we start, so give us the broad overview of your army. What's it, just generally?
Okay.
Regular infantry, paratroopers, Gurkhas. What are you running?
Yeah. So real quick before we start on that, I was just I've been out for a while. I had a tooth extraction gone bad, and couldn't even. It was hurt to talk. So I haven't been doing any shows or anything or being on anybody's channels. Just I had a bone that was like showing, and the gum would not heal up. They sewed it up like 3 times. Go in there, they'd stick me, numb me, sew me, just grind on it, and it was brutal. I'm thankfully I think I'm over it now. It still feels a little funny, but everything's good. So yeah,
Wow,
yeah, that was an
man.
adventure.
If those get too bad, they just have to do a head amputation, right?
I was ready for it.
Wow. Well, hey, we are glad to have you up and well. We've missed you. I know the folks have,
Yeah.
missed seeing you and I on the show. I mean, what do they say? Two heads are better than one. Oh, I got all the head jokes going on tonight. Watch out. There we go. All right. Well, very good. So you were kind of out of the loop with your teeth and just different things going on.
Yeah.
Um, so again, you ran British, and of course, I'll pull back the envelope a little bit. You're running Gurkhas,
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
what made you decide you wanted to do that with version 3?
So I was actually talking with Bo a few weeks before the tournament, and we discussed that nobody is playing Gurkhas anymore, really, because of the change to close combat, and nobody's won a tournament yet with Gurkhas. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to be the first one, and he was like, okay, you're on. So
Nice.
I had been bringing a mix of paratroopers and Gurkhas, like 3 paratroopers, 1 squad of Gurkhas, just to have that assault element. But I said, okay, I'm going to go all Gurkha here. So all my infantry's Gurkhas in this list.
Nice. Nice. And that was Bo Mortensen, right? And he's got his own
Yeah,
channel.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll throw a link to that in the description below, when we, as well as to your channel, when we're doing the show notes. So we'll get started here.
yeah,
Everybody's favorite, the
yeah,
inexperienced captain.
yep, yep. Throw this captain right out
Oh,
of. I don't know what he was doing, running a dentist office in the United States, and
oh,
they said, let's make
mm.
him an officer.
And he's got a pistol. I didn't notice that when I was updating the list. You
Yeah.
actually gave the poor fellow a pistol, and that saved you.
Well,
And that saved you a whole point.
not until we get until the Armies of book
Got it.
comes out. Then I get a
Okay.
1 point deduction, so he'll be 41
Ooh.
points. Yeah. But if you bring 3 dudes, like say if you add a couple guys to it, they'll each and give them all pistols. They'll all be a -1 to their points. Hey, Where we save points where we can. Now I'm telling you.
I know it. That's great. And now this is the output here is of course from the Warlord Games app
Yeah,
that you use to generate your list. Pretty good app. And you chose to use that over, the old standby that we've all used for years. Um,
easy
gosh, I mean,
army.
Easy Army, right?
Yeah,
And that's just because the Warlord being the home guys tends to be the most up to date.
yeah, and so up to date. And if you'll notice on the top, it's national characteristic. It says blood curdling charge. So if
Right.
you use the easy army, there's no selection for national characteristic. Um,
Oh,
so short of writing it on the army list manually, this is the only way I could tell my opponent, "Hey, I've got blood curdling charge," and they know
okay.
I'm not playing around with it. So
Right. Okay. Okay. Pretty cool. There we go. The
yeah,
Gurkhas.
yeah, I love these guys. So
Yeah. Oh, and here they are in all their glory.
so we're going to have these massive killer veteran troops being led by an inexperienced platoon commander. he just
With
get,
a pistol.
he's just going to get out of their way and say, "Yo, you guys do what what you want
Right.
to
Chop chop. Get to it, boys. In classic gentlemanly English officer fashion. Please
do."
go kill those guys.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to make a confession here. This was an image that I actually had Chat GPT draw for me.
Mm,
You'll see a disclosure in the show notes, which you have to do as a YouTube creator. If you may have AI make a realistic image, you have
okay.
to disclose that. So this was a Chat GPT generated image, and
Very
wow,
nice. It's
yeah,
good.
absolutely awesome. Yeah. So 8 rifles.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna pick up 2 extra shots out of that. No light
No,
machine guns.
no.
Okay.
So my national characteristic is blood curdling charge, which allows me to charge at 12 inches without the enemy being able to shoot at me.
Oh.
So that's very key, and I think a lot of people are bringing this now because hey, if I can, even if the opponent's swinging first, if I can cut down the incoming fire, and I know I got 8 guys going in,
Right.
and they shoot at me, if I lose 1 or 2, it's okay because they're swinging with half of what they got, and
Right.
and they're all tough fighters, so I'm going to win that every time.
And
Um,
and no light machine guns because you're gonna, as we'll see later, you're gonna kind of rely on your support units and your armor to provide that
mhm.
long range machine gun fire. Okay. There
Yeah,
we go.
you wouldn't want to waste machine guns in an assault unit because
You froze up.
that's throwing points away.
Right. And no submachine guns either because they don't
Yeah.
they don't benefit.
Well, submachine guns maybe if you got the
Right.
points because a lot of times you might have to advance up out of a transport, and then if you
Yeah.
have submachine guns, you can lay down some fire on a unit before you charge them the next turn.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking, especially since you're working to get to that 12-inch range anyway, and that's where your subs come into their own. And again, just to remind folks, there's no long range penalty in bolt action anymore. So
Yeah.
at 12 inches, those submachine guns are just brilliant. And of course, being assault weapons, they don't get the negative for firing on the move. Just something to consider about when you're building your army lists.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Move that up. There we go. Of course, we have a fiery artillery forward observer,
Yeah. I got an
and
extra guy with him. Try to make him a little more survivable.
okay, both with pistols. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Aren't they dangerous?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you really don't want it. So there's another way of doing this too. A couple guys of bringing them 3-man and giving
Okay,
them all submachine guns, and then they become like a little assault squad.
right.
But you got to get them. So these guys have got 2 artillery strikes, and I really want them about doing that rather than getting shot at.
Okay,
So that's why I didn't load them up with any equipment.
but then once they've called in their 2 strikes, you need to. What are you going to do with them for the other 4 turns?
Usually, well, that's in another world, really. 4 turns. I wished I had 4 turns. Half the time, I'm waiting 4 turns for the first one to come in.
Right. Okay.
Um, and so that was one of the things that happened to me this tournament.
Hmm.
Is the first one gets delayed, and my very first game, which I lost, I didn't get, I think, maybe one of the second strikes in. Both of my first two strikes from, because I got two forward observers, miscalculated and hit my own guys.
Oh no, no.
Yeah. Now I did catch some of theirs, but I also got my guys because I'm pushing
Right.
up with these Gurkhas trying to get in.
Got
Uh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. The
So
dice. The dice god said, "No soup for you."
yeah,
Wow.
I'm really almost on the fence with observers because it's a lot of points to spend.
Right.
Now they made some changes to the rules in the upcoming, which we'll go over later, but makes them a little more reliable. So we'll
Yeah.
talk about that when we get to it. But yeah,
Yeah. Anti-tank team with a anti-tank rifle.
veteran,
Veteran. Makes sense.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, it absolutely does because I've run the regular, and I haven't lost many, but they've taken casualties, and
They're
then they're
just
shooting it -1 after that, and it just become totally ineffective.
right. Yeah. They're. I'm like you, and of course, I tend to do my officers a little different. I don't think I go under regular with officers, but man, my specialist teams, like my AT teams, and my artillery FO, I'll usually do as veteran, and for that reason, because they're then a little harder to kill. And
Yeah,
if they can't get a kill, then you're not having to roll for cover. I mean, cover's nice, but now it's a die roll, and with a name like Bad Dice Baker, you can imagine how much I like having to do die rolls for cover.
yeah,
So there we go. Good call on that. I agree. I run mine the same way. Light mortar team, inexperienced.
yeah. I've got, I believe, two of them in this platoon.
You do
Um, yeah, and even though they're inexperienced, believe it or not, I think over 3 games I may have lost two mortar teams out of
interesting.
three
Okay.
games, and and I've got three of them. I think I've got two
Okay.
in this one and one in the other platoon. But it's just how you play them.
Right.
You don't put them in danger. And actually, they did kind of my third game. I was running away with him because he was trying to kill him to get kill points,
Uh huh.
and
Uh-huh.
and so we were tying. And the way the scenario was written, we were going to tie no matter what on the sectors,
Right.
scoring in sectors. So it was really coming down to kill points. So I was literally just running away as he was pushing up. I'm running behind stuff, trying to keep him from getting shot at. I think two of the mortars were down to one man.
Mm.
I think me and my anti-tank rifle was down to one man, even at veteran. Um,
Wow.
I managed to keep him from getting killed. So, yeah.
Of course, somebody gets target fixation like that. If you could have a good opportunity to draw them into an ambush. Oh,
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna chase down these guys, get an easy kill. Hey, where did that LVT come from? So yeah,
yeah.
which
So
brings
that's the other thing about light mortars is 21 points. And if my enemy is going to focus an 80 point or 100 point unit on
good
my
point.
21 point, then I'm winning, you know?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a great point. And then of course here's the I think the tool you're most known for, the LVT 4 Buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but Bo, I watched a video of his a long time ago, and it was really good. I got to like, wow, this is a really cool, machine. I've got to get one, and ever since I've used it, I've loved it. So I'm not going to say anything more about that, but that's kind of. I usually don't build a list without one. Yeah,
Yeah. So I know I'm sitting here looking at it. I'm thinking I could get one and paint it desert brown to go with my eighth army. I mean, and this is this is simultaneously one of the biggest critiques and one of the most fun things about bolt action. As Randy and I were talking before the show, that there you go.
I've got two, by the way.
You
I
have
haven't
two.
finished painting this one, but this is the one I always run.
Nice. But the LVT was really more of a Pacific theater weapon. You didn't really see it in the European theater of operations. But with the way bolt action is written, there's really not theater restrictions. So yeah, you can have Gurkhas running LVTs in Northwest Europe, and nobody's going to bat an eye. It is
Yeah.
one of the most fun things about the miniature gaming hobby is, you know, people will make comments about, oh my gosh, this person's bringing patent tanks, or in bolt action we all laugh about everybody's got a Puma, and the Puma was one of the rarest armored vehicles. But hey, it's toy soldiers, and we don't have to worry about factory restrictions. We just can go with the rule of cool. So there you go. But yeah, the LVT Buffalo, just absolutely a great IFV. And then of course the M3 White Scout car.
Yeah. So both of these are inexperienced, if you notice. But
See that?
of course, the White Scout car was filled with 8 Gurkhas. And so while they're in it, they're shooting the machine gun at regular. And then the LVT not only had a squad of Gurkhas, it had my company commander in it, and it had the anti-tank rifle in it. So even after the Gurkhas get out, what I'll do is I'll leave the anti-tank rifle in the LVT to fire the machine guns. And then if a target of opportunity shows up, they can jump out in the same turn and shoot at it.
Okay, that is just so thematic. That sounds like just something out of a John Wayne movie, or out of it. I mean, that is just absolutely awesome. It's like, yeah, you're gonna come hunt my LVT with your tank? Yeah, I got a little something for you.
Plink, yeah.
Right, right. Hey, we say plink, but if it's a
Point blank shot. Side, if you can catch it in the side, point blank, that can hurt it.
it could hurt. And I want to say that if it's not veteran, you're putting pins on it when you're hitting it with
Mm-hmm.
that ATR. So you
Yeah, I
know,
don't think I saw any veteran tanks the whole
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So
It's really been interesting to watch it in this new version, and bolt action overall, that you just don't see like bazooka teams a lot, or anti-tank guns a lot, which historically were on the battlefield, because the ATR, points for what it can do is just so valuable. And on the reciprocal, light and medium tanks are really very much in their element as far as economy of force. Although people are starting to bring some of the monster tanks in, and I think several times they have monster tanks have shown up. Monster tanks being things like the KV2, the Tiger tank, the Panther. When they do show up, they really do cause a lot of havoc. Okay, next platoon got the mandatory inexperienced lieutenant with pistol.
yeah, yeah. So this is a recce platoon.
Right.
Not a lot of people ran them, but I didn't. So this really came down to not having the points for a second White Scout car.
Okay.
Um, and so I've got a truck, a regular truck in this list that's recce.
Right. Right.
So it tries to make it a little more survivable as far
A,
as
re-
if
a
not
recce
can.
a recce truck.
Yeah,
I love it. So, and of course, there's your other artillery observer.
yeah, yeah.
And,
Because if one's
yeah,
good, you bring two.
right.
Um,
And again, currently, basebook British FOs get two calls on artillery, as I recall.
yeah,
So pretty nice. And there's your recon truck.
yeah. So I think it died once
Okay.
in 3 games.
Yeah.
And the only reason it died in that game was they had 3 objectives on his baseline, and of course one of them was a fake objective. It's called a red herring.
Right.
So you had to push to get to these objectives. So basically, I just ran the truck straight at him, and had him. He blew the truck up. The Gurkhas got out. They didn't lose anybody.
Dang.
And they actually got on the objective. If they had survived, unfortunately, he brought everything he had to shoot him to death. I mean, everything. His whole army was just like right in the middle, just whoosh, and just shooting at it. I was in hard cover, and I just kept going down. And I think they would have survived if the artillery strike hadn't hit them.
Oh, was that your strike or his strike?
Yeah, it was mine.
That's awesome.
So it got delayed, and then it
Right.
miscalculated, and that's when it screwed me up. Is when it miscalculated, and it moved. Every time I've had a miscalculation, I think it's been at least 15 inches.
Boy.
And it's always been towards my own guys, no matter where it is.
Wow.
If either that or it goes off the board. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, there we go. So be careful with them Gurkhas. They're not invulnerable. Now this thing, and no, this is a regular Stuart. So not one, but two Daka Stuarts.
Yeah. So this is kind of like my old version 2 list, really, because I used to run 4 squads of Gurkhas. I think I would run 2 10-man and 2 8s, and then I'd run 2 Stuarts, because back then you could only take 1 tank per platoon.
Right.
But now you can take a few more tanks. So I've got 2 in this list. Honestly, they didn't do what the light anti-tank gun just sucks.
Huh.
There was so much armor that and my first opponent was the one that really gave me the most trouble, because he had 3 Panzer IIIs that were 8 armor, and then he had 2 Lukes tanks. Yeah. But all of the Panzer IIIs, he upgunned them to the medium anti-tank gun.
Okay, so the 50L. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were 8 armor. He didn't go to the 9 armor, but he went to the 8 armor and then the medium gun plus the coax, double coax.
Right.
So he got 12 shots plus a medium. And so the light anti-tank gun really struggled to do anything to his tanks. And then, of course, my artillery bombardments were designed to hamper his armor pushing up, which unfortunately, with delays and miscalculations, it did nothing to his tanks.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I like that Panzer III Long. It's a good tank. That was the one that the Germans probably did most of their work with in on the Eastern Front.
Yeah.
You know, the 3 was their main tank for a long time. And I'll take a 3 Long just about as often as I'll take a 4, because it's less points and is about as useful. So
yeah.
Here's the oddball, the twin turreted Vickers tanks, which I had never heard of until you ran them.
So. Yeah, these were great. These probably did the best out of my list, really, other than the Gurkhas. For 65 points, you get twin machine guns. So they're fully enclosed. Their armor, it used to be you had to be armor 8. Now, as long as it's fully enclosed and it's armored and it's tracked, you can assault with them. And so you could if you hit a soft skin with it, you automatically win. It just destroys it. Artillery units, the same thing. You can run over artillery. The infantry, you got to get some pins on them first. They are a bit vulnerable. I did lose a few of them during the tournament because they're only armor 7. They're tin can. But for the points, I mean, gosh. So I'd actually built a list. I was playing around with. I had 8 of these and a couple of big tanks with it. So
Panzer Blitz.
Yeah.
Oh, and now, as I recall, this tank, 2 medium machine guns, armored, mobile, is the same amount of points as a regular MG team. Is that right?
So as a veteran. So a veteran MMG. But if you look at how even a 3-man veteran MMG team is pretty vulnerable.
Right.
You know, if you shoot at it, you pretty much, it has to go down because it's gonna die or take casualties to the point where it's going to be gone pretty quick.
Right.
Whereas this thing can ignore any rifle fire.
Sure.
Um, Anti-tank rifle can hurt it,
Yep.
um, but if it's at long range, anti-tank rifle's only a one pin. You got to roll a 6 to get superficial. So pretty survivable until they get inside of 24 inches
Right.
against autocannons and anti-tank rifles, unless you
Okay.
get them in the side. Side
Yeah.
shots can be bad, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would have brought actually if we didn't have a dice cap in this tournament of 18, which was kind of low. I might have brought a bunch of these and then just brought a couple Piats for my anti-tank.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because I could have probably brought 6 of these, and
Oh,
then
wow.
well, I probably would have brought 5 because 6 means I got to bring another armored platoon, which you're throwing away points. But so I could bring 5 of them, and that's a lot of machine gun shots.
It is, and that's a fully loaded tank platoon right there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Well, the
Cool.
other beauty of it is you see there's 2 turrets. I can split fire with it. So
Right.
if I want to pin 2 units, I can do that.
Nice. And again, the medium machine gun with a range of 48, right?
But no, 36.
36,
Yeah,
36 is
36.
going to be able to reach out. I mean, 36 inches is still most of the way across any given board.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to be able to reach out a 36-inch circle, area of effect and pin stuff is pretty darned effective.
So what these are great at is
Yeah.
attacking mortars and artillery pieces.
Hmm.
They're not so great against infantry because you might
That's
kill one
surprising,
guy. But if you
right?
go up, if you try to take on mortar teams, especially inexperienced mortar teams, you're
Oh,
going to
geez,
wipe them out real quick.
they're done.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's usually where I used them, was going after that kind of stuff.
Cool beans. Okay. And that's the end of that show.
Yeah.
Got some extra slides in there, so but there we go. Randy, looks like it was fun. So how'd the Army perform overall?
Yeah, so I really struggled against the armor. Like I said, the Stuarts with the light anti tank gun, they just couldn't handle any list with some serious armor in it.
Okay.
The Gurkhas, I was thoroughly pleased with them. I think I got off like maybe 7 or 8 assaults and
Nice.
didn't lose a single Gurkha squad.
Wow.
They were just they did what they were supposed to. What
Wow.
else? The light mortars did. Yeah, I was real pleased with the light mortars. So going forward, I'm going to probably bring my Comet in my list,
Okay.
just because the amount of punch that it has, not only against tanks but also against infantry with the 3-inch template.
Right.
And it's a 10 armor in the front, so it's going to be hard to take out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless somebody's got something similar.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So
I think I went. I lost my first game, mainly because it was close too, and it was a good opponent. He was one of the top guys in the tournament, and it was a close loss. Mainly because I just couldn't deal with the amount of tanks he had. I couldn't push up into them. They were just, yeah.
too many of them, huh?
Well, he killed my one of the reasons I didn't get half my strikes in too was after the one that got miscalculated. He had called it in, but the 2-man team got shot to pieces by the 12 shots from one of the tanks.
Yeah.
And so he never got to call his second one in. So that hurt too.
Yeah. That would definitely hurt.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look, and I know you are chomping at the bit to learn some more about this, but the new Armies of Great Britain's coming out.
Yeah.
And they just dropped a new intel. They of
Wednesday.
course, yeah, they came out, just to kind of bring folks up to speed. They gave us a preview, talked about new units, the new special figure, which by the way, Gator Games will have a limited selection of this new figure. Everything, if you pre-order the Army book from me, you will get the special figure, and that's the same deal that Warlord is making me. If anything I get in the initial run, I'll get the special figure. After that, it's just the regular rule books. And of course, the Lee tank is coming out, and I've always had an affection for the Lee and the Grant tank, and so I'm definitely planning to put that in the store.
Yeah, I think you had to resin print that before Warlord came out with it. Nobody had a model for it, did they?
They had a resin Lee. They did, but it was resin metal as opposed to a plastic. So yeah,
this will be much nicer.
I would think so. Yeah. And I'm just not a fan of Winter War. So the British Winter Infantry is like, I know it's going to be their newest kit. I'll be real curious, and I'll have it on pre-order. Probably won't stock it just because Winter doesn't seem to sell by itself. Most guys are like, we're going to do, quite frankly, I'm enjoying doing the British 8th Army because I can do them with so many different ethnicities, and I can do them with, they're dead easy to paint. And of course the special figure that's going to come with that. So that's that one. And then, just had it up here. Special Army rules kind of had you spun up a little bit, Randy. You've given that a look. What are you thinking?
Yeah, you got them up yet? Where are they?
I do. I actually don't have I don't have a copy of the rules themselves. Now, what I can do though is I can share screen. So give me a minute. I'll pull that off, and we'll engage in some computer foo here. Share screen, and you want that one, and you want that. There we go. And how's that looking?
Yeah, so I was looking more at where's it at?
There we go.
The little box.
Right there. Okay, fixed bayonets. Yeah. Yep.
Scroll.
So you've got so fixed bayonets. I think you said replaces tough as boots.
Yeah, so it's basically tough as boots, but it's not something you choose now. Every unit gets it.
Yep.
Which is kind of interesting in a way, like if you had a 3-man headquarters unit,
right?
And they got assaulted, they'd have a little bit better chance of doing some damage.
Okay. Yeah, because they'd roll 4. They would roll 4 dice instead of 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So yeah, that's now. Did Tough as Boots have that as well?
Yeah, that's the same. Okay. The same thing.
Okay. Tough as old boots. Okay. It wasn't a rule I used a lot, and most of my British play has been intro, so a lot of times I'm not using a lot of the special national rules, but that makes an amount of sense. Artillery support, I guess, is going to get a little different.
Yeah. So basically, with the artillery support, we had seen a little bit of this from a leak, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be a reroll on the fire for effect or a reroll on whether or not you got a direct hit. I was kind of hoping that was what they were going to do, because if you got to roll 2 dice for a direct hit, your odds of getting a 6 are great. However, so they did take away the second ability to call in a second strike.
And again, you're hearing this from some leaked information.
No, this is actually this is fact here. There's no longer a double strike for the British. And honestly, I'm going to be straight honest. That's okay, because half the time I don't ever get that second one in. Right. And if I do, it's so late in the game that my enemy's up on me, and do I really want to call in a strike on top of himself, right?
Kill your Gurkhas.
Yeah. So,
right.
And I've had so many miscalculations and delays so basically now when you roll to see if it comes in, so on a 1, you would get a miscalculation.
Right.
On a 2 and a 3, it's delayed, and then 4 up, it comes in. Well, now you get to roll 2 dice, and you pick the
Okay.
best result. So basically, unless you roll snake eyes, you're not going to have a miscalculation ever.
I can do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But for me, 2 dice to get a 4 up, I think I'm going to get my bombardment in every time.
Okay.
So I kind of like that.
Right.
Basically, now maybe it's worth building a 3-man squad, because he's going to call in his bombardment, and then he can immediately go off and do something else.
Okay.
He can go, take an objective, kill somebody.
Right.
I don't have to worry about it anymore.
We were talking when we were looking at your list before the show. Right now, I think your FO is 2 guys.
Yeah,
they're
one of
both
them
armed
was
with
2.
pistols, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was even saying, well, why not give them SMGs? And you were like, well, right now they're so busy trying to dial in the artillery that I can't use them for anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, strap some those extra 3 points you're picking up on inexperienced officers and pistols elsewhere. That's where you can put those 3 points, and that's adding those submachine guns to your observer teams and turning them to little assault teams.
Well, and they're still infiltrators, so that means they get a bonus to their cover saves as well.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow. Okay, that's gonna be wild. I like it. I like it.
Well,
So
so also, since I only going to be calling in 1 strike,
right.
I could bring 3-man veteran, arm them with SMGs, drop them in the enemy's back line, call in the strike, and then run over there and shoot up an artillery unit or something.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if he's got a company commander hanging out back there, well, guess who I'm going to take out? Because that's a big bonus for his army. I'm going to take him out.
Assassination mission. And talking about company commanders, that brings us to that next rule, which is come on, lads. So British platoon and company commanders are going to get a boost to their morale bonus, making them better at leading their troops. But I guess leading from the front.
Yeah. So a lot about this is like, all right. So American officers, they would blacken out their brass, their rank insignia, so they couldn't be picked out, and they discouraged their troops from saluting them in the field. Matter of fact, they get pretty violent about it if you started saluting them. Whereas the British would not wear, they wouldn't wear a hat like, so the American officers wore the same hat as a regular soldier, so you couldn't tell them apart. The British, however, they wear those little special caps, and that that's a British officer. So the snipers are looking for them. But they're out there in the front, just like I say, come on, lads, let's go. So they get that morale bonus, but they're also more vulnerable. So I think it's pretty appropriate. I like it.
Yeah, very thematic, and I'm with you. I like that. And hey, when I modeled my British 8th Army platoon, my officer he's got the round cap, and God bless him, he's got a dang pistol. So that's really cool. So a new rule here. Well, you got the come on, lads, but then we've got for king and country, which can be assigned to guards, commandos, airbornes, and chindits. And so I think the king and country rule is already in there, but now these particular units actually specifically have the options.
So these are stuff you can add to any other unit that has the ability.
Yeah.
So guards. This one's kind of interesting. I think this does say you have to be regiment. So this states there was some talk about you could do this with a vehicle, but you can't. It has to be an infantry unit. Being able to shed 2 pins. So that's quite important, because if you've got, a lot of times when you pin a unit down, you want to put more than 1 pin on it, so that once it passes its test, it's still shooting at a minus.
Right.
But if they can shed 2 pins, a lot of times they'll get away from that and they'll be able to shoot at normal. So this might be
Right.
something worthwhile adding to a unit,
Yes, absolutely.
because you can do it with regulars as well as veteran. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, no, the units have to be taken as okay. Yeah, regular or veteran.
Mhm.
There we go. Airborne, and I think this is pretty standard.
Yeah. I mean,
Except
this is kind of nice. I mean, but basically, so you're having to take a unit veteran, and you're adding 1 point for stubborn.
right.
Well, you might as well just take an airborne. You might as well take paratroopers because that's what they are.
Right.
So why would I take a regular? Well, actually, I take that back. If you take a regular veteran infantry squad, they're the only unit that can have 2 light machine guns in the British list.
Okay.
So you could give them stubborn. You could take a 5 or 6 man squad and give them 2 light machine guns and make them stubborn, so they'd hang around.
Call them airborne. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal.
Yeah. Now the
Commando.
bike. Did you see the Wii bikes?
Yeah, the well bikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are,
So
are those a motorcycle?
I don't know. We were talking about that earlier today,
Yeah.
and the only thing that's bad about them, I think, if you do anything other than run with them, then you have
Right.
to drop them. So if you advance or shoot or do anything else, they leave the bikes behind.
Okay. Sounds like they're regular bicycles then.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Okay.
it would be kind of cool if they were motorcycles where you could zip around, run across the board at 24 inches, and then jump out and shoot. But I don't know. You could
Yeah.
do that with a transport as well. So
That's right. Be a little bit better protected.
yeah,
Let's see. Let's all go commando.
yeah,
So again, I think to your point, you can take a regular unit and add these values to them.
yeah. The only advantage to the commandos is that they're the only squad that can have all submachine guns.
Mm.
So if you wanted to take a 10-man commando with submachine guns and throw them in a truck or something, this would be the way to do it. But that's a lot of points. I think they've added a couple things to it. Independent. So if a commando loses its NCO, you roll a dice on a 3-up. It's kind of like the German rule.
Yeah.
It's not automatic, but it's pretty certain that you're gonna, actually, it is a little different than Germans, because Germans, they don't upgrade to a new NCO. They just don't lose their morale.
Right.
So you don't have to replace the NCO. You just stay at your morale and you just keep trucking on.
Right. Right.
Which can affect your loader, because your NCO cannot be the loader.
Nope.
It can't. So
never mind. There were I think I've heard many stories where the NCO helped feed the machine gun, but
yeah,
that's all right.
I mean, you do what you have to. Yeah.
Got that right. Got that right. So here's interesting. Commando machine gun teams, basically teams can carry fire any small arms they carry if they're not firing their main weapon. I
Mm-hmm.
would have thought that was standard for any model.
Okay,
That
so
they had
machine
the
gun
option.
team, yeah, machine gun team. The other guys can't shoot a rifle normally, but apparently a commando machine gun team can. So where that would come into effect, all right? So a machine gun team is a fixed weapon, right?
Right.
You can't move and shoot. But if they've all got rifles, they can move and shoot their rifles. They can get 3 shots.
Sure. Right. But apparently only commandos are allowed to do that. Other weapons teams can only
mortar teams. I got a mortar team with rifles. He's going to move and shoot with his rifles.
Right. Because the mortar's minimum range is 12 inches. So, okay,
I'm going to run up team. What if I
Yeah,
don't want to shoot my flamethrower? He's not in range yet, so I'm going to just advance him up and shoot 24 inches with 2 rifle shots.
right, right. Now, again, the
Could be
caveat would
useful.
be, if you're going to do this, you do want to make sure you model the weapons on the figure.
Yep.
That's probably going to be the one thing I think you're going to probably see people munchkinning a little bit. Oh well, my
WYSIWYG.
team's yeah, and that's going to be a tough thing if you got to look at the other guy and say, well, the rifles aren't on the guys, so
Yeah, you can't keep
better
track
luck.
of all that, so they're going to have to model it with all these changes.
Yeah, and we'll recap that when the book drops out. I know for the Armies of the United States, I went back through all the intel and kind of recapped it. I think I did that solitaire because you weren't available, but I
Yeah,
think we'll definitely when the book drops, we'll do another show. Before it ships, where we look at what all the intel is, and then once it ships, I think we'll take our books and look through and talk about the new book as well. So exciting times. Let's see, we got one more special rule here.
yeah.
The Chindits.
All right, so this one's one that itches me big time. All right, so I don't know if anybody knows it, but the Gurkhas are not in the new book, Armies of Germany book.
Armies of Great Britain.
Armies of Great Britain. Yeah, sorry.
There we go. All right.
So apparently the Chindits are. I haven't seen the book, but I mean they're in the core book, and so you don't see in the core book, you don't see Maori, you don't see Canadians, you don't see Australians or any of the other nations, Commonwealth nations. So if they've got the Chindits, why don't they have the Gurkhas? And so you can add these Chindit rules to any unit, which which is kind of cool though in itself, because honestly, I got a Piat team and I want to make behind enemy lines ambush field craft so they can run through rough ground.
Wow.
So I got a Piat. I want to put it on ambush at the start of the game. I give him, so all you got to do is make it veteran, which is not a bad thing because you want them to survive.
Right.
And you give them these 3 points per, so that's only 6 points you're going to add to it. And they're going to get the ability to outflank. They're going to get the ability to be on ambush and to move through rough ground like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Well, the other caveat to that too is the field craft. If you wanted to have an assault unit, you could give them this, and they'll be able to assault a unit that's in cover, and they don't get the defensive bonus because they treat it as open ground.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be nasty.
Yeah.
But to your point, they weren't a category; they were a special unit.
Yeah.
So,
well, the Chindits were Australians, though. I mean, almost all of them came from Australia.
Yeah, and I think again, mostly fought in the Pacific Theater.
Yeah.
But hey, again, this is one of the things I'm actually beginning to like about bolt action more and more is, it does let you do a lot of what if. Now, all that being said, there's absolutely everything right if a tournament or if a player says, okay, we're going to build these, I'm going to build and play a scenario that's strictly historical.
Mm-hmm.
And the game will do that too. Matter of fact, the campaign books are all still out there. A little bit of a commercial there, but they're still out there, and the scenarios are still playable even in V3. So,
well, the one thing I like about these rules is like before, you could have all airborne squads, but you couldn't have airborne officers, you couldn't have airborne special teams. But now you can add those to them, give them the red beret, and they're airborne. You can make your whole army airborne if you want, pretty much.
I never noticed that. That's a great point. So it absolutely addresses that, because that actually would have been very inaccurate, because got airborne troops probably going to
You
be
have an
written
airborne officer, yeah.
Oh heck yeah, yeah. You don't want straight leg infantry leading airborne. That's never a good combination. Just ask my dad. So, all right, well, fantastic. And I think that's everything we have. That's everything we know as of right now on the armies of Germany. But I can tell you that let's see here. We're going to close that out. There we go.
Yeah. So the one thing I noticed was absent from this first leak was, or intel, the special rules that Great Britain had before, which were the ability to choose between vengeance and blood curdling charge and rapid fire, and of course tough as boots. I think those have all gone away. We won't know until we see the book, or they've
Right.
dropped some more intel on it. But it kind of seems like they've just done away with it, which is really bad, because I know a lot of guys like to take rapid fire with British. Um,
Yes.
you take a 8 or 10 man whatever squad of riflemen, and they're shooting quite a few shots. Um, the Americans get it for
So
for
toughest
free.
boots. We've got yeah. Don't get me started on that. So you've got right now you've got the rapid fire and the toughest boots available, and we're
No,
going to drop.
no, the British don't get that anymore, and unless they show us something that says they do. I think we've seen all the national characteristics we're going to see.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
they're gonna if you're building an army, and this is the other element that's really as a TO really got me scratching my head. We used to wrestle, when we would put a tournament on. Okay, do we allow theater selectors? Do we not? Because the theater selectors could really change an army. I know Chris
yeah,
Hutchison liked to run the Case Blue Italians because they were literally a different force than the Mediterranean Italians. They were much more combat effective. Um, so that then the TO is sitting here saying, okay, um, do I tell everybody they've got to bring their armies out of the armies of books? Now, historically, it's never been the case. Certainly won't be doing that for our tournament in June.
yeah.
But at some point, all the army books will be out, and then you've got a dichotomy because you may have John, who all he plays out of is the bolt action rule book, so he's
Yeah.
using the bolt action rule book British rules, which is free officers, extra shot. There's things he doesn't have access to. That's true. Um, but then you have Paul, who's using the Armies of Great Britain book, and that'll be an interesting matchup to see when those two armies square off how that plays. Um, so now you built your army list from the Warlord app.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've built one, if you've built a German army, and maybe you can check this. Does the app allow you to choose between an army book and a rule book, or is it just basically by
So
nationality?
I'd have to look at the American one and see if there's any differences. I think
Right.
mostly in the American and German, it's everything and instead of leaving stuff out.
Okay.
But my experience from version 2, and this is pretty universal, despite what anybody might say or think, but most tournaments always said the core book or the armies of book. That's what you could pick your units from. So they gave you the
Right.
option to take either or. So if
Right.
that's the case, then you could still, because Gurkhas are in the core book. Of course, there's no Maori or any of the other units, so you couldn't take those until the Commonwealth comes out. But the way I read it is that I should be able to pick any unit that's in the core book or in
Yep.
the armies of book.
Yeah.
Now, I have an email out to Warlord, and hopefully I'll get an official, answer on that, in a day or so, whatever, how long it takes them to respond. Um,
I
and then
would
maybe,
I would
maybe,
say go ahead.
yeah, maybe next week we can release that, whatever they say, and
That'd be
I'll,
cool.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll take a picture of it if they do give me an official answer.
Sounds fantastic. I was
Yeah,
gonna say, I know the way Easy Army works is you build your forces either out of the core rule book or out of the Armies of books. That's how it used to work in version 2. So if you were building a core rulebook army, then you just selected units from that core rulebook. If you were building, and since they've rolled over, and I can look in Easy Army, but I would think that's going to be really the teller.
I,
I'm still scratching my head that they pulled that +1 shot off of the British, but being an American player, I really felt like the Americans lost a key distinctive, not being able to move and shoot without penalty. Um,
yeah. Well,
I
see,
really
the British don't get that though.
right.
The rapid fire, they had to sit still to get that extra shot. So the Americans got the bonus regardless of whether they were moving or not. So
You
it's a
told me
little
that,
different.
before. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so really, my experience, the rapid fire where you had to be still, it's hard to do that in this game. You tend to want to be moving because otherwise you're just a sitting duck if you just stand still. Unless you're trying to hold down an objective, and then of course that's different where you might want to
absolutely.
just sit there and just shoot back. But a lot of times, if that's the case, if you're trying to hold an objective, you're just going down every time
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just trying to stay there. So, yeah.
yeah. Well, fantastic. All right, let me see here. There we go. Well, Randy, it's been a while. I hope the folks got a lot out of what we talked about. I'll be the first to tell you. You can tell I don't get to play bolt action near enough with everything, all the other games I play, and then the other things I do running the show and the channel. But it remains one of my main go tos when it comes to 28mm World War II. Of course, I tend to like to play at the lower point levels because it just plays quicker and it just easier on the brain. But I continue to learn new things. And I played with Wayne about 4 weeks ago. Now we did Battle of Manila, and we were both searching the rule books. But
Yeah.
I'll beef up some more as we get toward the tournament. So, and that's the other thing. Just a reminder, guys. June 28th, we are doing our summer Savannah
Yes.
tournament. $20 a head, going to be good prize support. Everybody that shows up will get at least some type of infantry sprue. I've already got commitments from Wargames Atlantic and Warlord. So good things going on. And if you've not been to one of our tournaments, you've missed a treat. If you've been, then you know how good it is. Randy and I and a couple of the other guys really get a chance to put some good terrain out. And
Yeah.
the
First class tables. They are. They really are. I'd put them up against anybody's in the country.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely a good experience. All right, I think with all that being said, Randy, I think I'm gonna bring this show in for a landing. Again, good to talk to you, folks. Hope you liked it. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Doing this is thirsty business, so if you want to buy us a cup of coffee, you can subscribe to our Patreon or our Ko-fi. And best way to support the channel, of course, is to go over to Gator Games and Books and buy some merchandise and help support the channel and keep things going. And again, if you got any questions, drop them in the chat here or drop us an email at Gator Games and Books. Thank you all for your time and have a good night.
Good night, everybody.